As promised, joining us live from Washington is one of the Texas Democrats who met with Senator Manchin. You may have seen her in that video clip we just showed, State Representative Senfronia Thompson. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
We are talking tonight under somewhat unusual circumstances. You represent Texas citizens there. You say you care a lot about that. But you're avoiding Texas. You're avoiding where you work and represent them. And you say you're going to continue this fight for some time. So walk us through why it's this important to you, what you're standing for.
Mr. Bell, thank you for letting me be on your show. I am a state representative from Texas. I'm 82 years old, and I'm in my 25th term. As a child coming up in Texas, my grandparents used to have to save pennies and nickels. They couldn't afford to save quarters because they were only making $2 a week to buy a poll tax. And they were only allowed to vote in national elections because they were Black and they couldn't vote in the primaries. I have seen a lot in my lifetime. And during that lifetime, I've had an opportunity to see people deny the right to vote, the struggles they had trying to get to the polls. And even though my grandmother had a poll tax, she had to go to a place to be able to cast her vote. In that process, but we didn't have transportation like we have today. They had to catch a bus and go many miles and stand in line and be allowed to vote. It was difficult. I've seen people who were Black killed, bombed, murdered, dogs leached on them. And I've lived with signs that says, no dogs, no Negroes, no Mexicans. And after having experienced all those things in my life, it was incumbent upon me to take a stand and to be able to continue to fight for the rights of Black people to be able to vote, and my constituents to have that privilege not ripped up from them. It was not difficult for me to leave the body that I served in on my 25th term in office, because I feel like I have something to preserve. This is not a privilege, it's a right that I have under the Constitution. And that was a Texan who served this nation as President of the United States, Lyndon Baines Johnson, on August 6, 1965, who signed the Voters' Rights Law into effect. I want to pass something on to my constituents and to the next generation. And if it takes me to stay out and continue my fight, I'm willing to do it. I make $13 a day as a state representative in Texas, and I have a business to supplement my income. But that means nothing if my rights or my constituents are ripped away from them. And what the Republicans want to do, they want to manipulate the laws where they can continue to support their form of government. Texas has 84% people of color, and the Republican represents that 16%, and they want to control the power of 84% of the people. We all want a form of government where we can have a voice in our democracy. We can have that. I want fair elections. We want safe elections. And what they want to do is they want to allow poll watchers to come in. And in my neighborhood, they are very intimidating because they look like there's somebody from the Proud Boys coming to my neighborhood. They're going to allow those people to have full range of walking around in polling places in my precincts. And they can get so close as to see how you vote or listen to your conversation if you're talking to yourself, trying to determine which candidate you may want to choose to vote for. They can even report the poll election judge, and they can cause that person to probably get arrested and get as much as 2 to 10 years in prison. The things that they want to do, even to people with disabilities, if they vote by mail, they have to sign their signature across an envelope. And if they got a voter's identification or maybe a driver's license they have had for 5 or 10 years, maybe during the course of that time that they're voting out, they had a stroke and their signature changes. They're going to have a group of partisan persons to look at those signatures and say, oh, this does not Melvin's signature? Like it. Well, you know your signature. You never sign your signature the same way twice if you sign it a million times. And those are the kinds of things that we left the state of Texas for. If it was a bill that says we're going to have fair elections, fine, no problem. We have persons who work 2 jobs in order to make ends meet. And you know how difficult it's been. Even you've heard so many stories about head of households, particularly women. So in Harris County, where I'm from, in Houston, we have drive-through voting, 24-hour voting. If you get off of one shift and you only wait to your next one, you can drive through, cast your vote, and keep driving.
Right.
Or if you happen to be a parent with your children in cars, you don't have to get your kids out of the car. You just leave them there and drive through. They don't want to allow us to have any latitude in being able to offer those kinds of services to people.